Hello and welcome back to Daily Anime Reviews, the channel where we talk about seasonal anime on the daily. And today we are talking about Oshi no Ko Season 3, Episode 3. And my lord, did I love this episode. To be fair, I have in fact liked all the episodes of Oshi no Ko so far, especially in this season. But this one was particularly interesting, mainly because I thought it was going to take an interesting angle. It took an interesting angle with the way it did things, and I thought it was going to go one way, but actually made it pretty okay in the end. So in this episode, the reality variety show that Ruby and Aqua are both on are doing like a little cosplay episode event type of thing, and they invite some different cosplayers. Ruby asks one friend who does some modeling, the AD that helps out with the show asks their sister, and the person that is like about the episode, the thing that it's about the person with the episode is Maya. That person does cosplay as well, but they also do some content creation stuff. And it was interesting how, Maya was basically the forefront of everything because the director asked some very, very not okay questions. I don't care who you are or your take on, the adult content industry. Those are just not okay questions to ask in general. Like asking how much you generally just don't ask money stuff in general, but if you have sex in the costumes and if, adult content creators they're dating photographers and film people, you just don't ask that. Those are just things that's like by your own damn business, right? Like that's just something you don't have to do. But after everything, obviously, my summer already felt a little bit annoyed. I mean, there was already the whole costume change thing that happened, which everyone was already somewhat annoyed about that. But after that and the adult content questions, Maya went to Twitter and was just like, I didn't have a really good time. I felt kind of awkward and not great. And then, honestly, I wasn't good. I wasn't very good. Now, the previous episode, season 3, episode 2, established the fact that the cosplay community has very tight-knit rules that you just, you don't do. Usually give people some time, respect the cosplayers. There's a whole amount of rules and etiquette that you should follow. The director and the variety show basically did none of that. And Maya ended up blasting them on Twitter, which ended up fucking them up. Now, they took a very interesting perspective, and I thought it was going to go kind of into the culture war direction. It sort of did, but it also kind of rectified itself, and I think it did in a decent way, where the director was basically being called out by the AD, being like, listen, I get it, you're mad, but also there's like some political correctness stuff that you just can't do anymore. Like, yes, this is the industry of TV, but you just can't do that anymore. And now while I'm not saying he's right, the director's obviously in the wrong, and I will give spoilers, the episode puts him in the wrong, which I think is the correct thing to do. But the director does give at least an interesting perspective of, listen, yeah, that's right, things are changing. There are a lot of more PC stuff happening. But unfortunately, we can't do that. We can't play that by those rules if we want to get popular. We aren't like the content creators on the internet who do have the ability to be able to hold up their morals like that. We have to push boundaries because we talk with so many different type of powers being that we can't. He's basically saying that our morals and the rules that we operate in have to kind of be different from the people in the entertainment and the internet space and whatnot, just due to the fact of how everything works, which I think is an interesting perspective, especially since the AD, he's getting drunk as he's looking at he's just in a out. It's this is fine photo with the dog and house on fire. Yeah, that was basically him this entire episode until Maya came and helped. Actually, Ruby came and helped, which we'll touch on that. We'll touch on that a little later. But Maya basically comes. No. Where we see the AD and his little sister interacting around the house, and he actually does make a good point that I never thought of, where he's like, "Hey, do you ever know why cliff deaths are usually the most popular deaths in just media in general? Why people falling and all that stuff is usually the way to go? Because there's a lot of ways that you could like kill people that certain brands might not like. Do you use the knife? Oh, the brand that you use might get associated with death. You use a baseball bat? Oh no, the brand that you use might get associated with a baseball bat. Someone chokes on a candy? Oh no, now people have fears of choking on that candy. There's like people that you need to appease that you may not think of, but you have to. But falling has none of that, and it's all human error. Well, most of the time. But that is an interesting perspective I never thought of, because you do see a lot of either like falling deaths or deaths that don't require actual like branded stuff on it, or if you do, it's like nondescript whatsoever. Like you can't pinpoint what it is because brands always want to be seen in a good light. You're never gonna see like a Cutco knife, or you're never gonna see a Shark vacuum, or a Dyson ceiling fan harming somebody or destroying someone. It's gonna be either just the random human on human death or human person and such, with either elements of the world that can't be controlled, or a very nondescript item in which that can be used, which I think is an interesting perspective to look at TV that way. And just like, yeah, in a sense, that like the reason why people like the director exist in the first place is because of all the rules and stupid like regulations and other things that exist on TV that they have to follow. And then in order to make it interesting, they have to at least push the boundaries a little bit and stuff like that. Whereas people on the internet, in order to at least make a living, you have to deal with less production, less costs, less rules, less things. You tend to go ahead and not have to deal with the many of the bullshit that the TV industry does. And so I thought this episode of Oshi no Go was going to play on the whole idea of political correctness and how that's affected the media industry. But instead, it actually became an episode of understanding, because Ruby goes up to the AD with a pitch for an episode, basically saying, hey, how about, hold on, give me a second, Jesus Christ. So Ruby basically gives the AD the pitch of, hey, let's get Maya and people that were involved, and obviously get the big hitters like my brother and people onto the like variety show that we have, and let's clear the air of everything. Let's set boundaries, let's set rules, let's set understandings. And like I didn't know where this was going to turn. I thought Ruby was going to do like a kind of backstab to get on the director's good side, but instead what it's being is an actual just straightforward explanation of how things work. Because yeah, on one hand, we do get a lot of the cosplayers' perspective on how much time it takes for people to go ahead and how much time it takes for people to actually make their costumes, how annoying it is to be changing, and what they have to deal with in the industry and how it can be annoying. But we do also get a look about directors and being like, oh, there's multiple lines of communications, and getting a license for stuff could actually be problematic and kind of annoying, and there's a lot of rules and a lot of ways that they also have to deal with. So it's like a two-way, not two-way mirror, but it's like a portal into each other's world of like, okay, you were also someone dealing with your shit, which I think is fair. And then Ruby was like, okay, but you're not just satisfied with that, right? Like, sure, you can be like, oh yeah, that's understanding, I get it. Well, as long as you don't do it, you don't need to understand them. You want them to understand you. And so something that I don't think is good is that the director came out in a Princess Saya cosplay. It's either Sokka or Saya, but the Princess Saya cosplay, same costume that Akane was in season 2 when playing the Tokyo Blade 2.5D play with Abako. Which, by the way, Abako also makes an appearance in this anime. In this episode, which I fucking appreciated, and I love her perspective. Just like, oh yeah, no, when it comes to like cosplayers, like that's totally fine. They're trying to be as, they don't like, obviously they'll get pictures for their profit, stuff like that, but they're the ones that are putting effort into trying to bring the character alive. Like, no right person in their mind would ever shut down people giving official okays for cosplays. Like, that's fucking stupid. Which is fair. That is dumb. That's why I was confused. I was like, you said do the cosplayers? What is this? Which makes me wonder what fucking shady thing behind, like, what exactly happened. Even Apako said, like, I would have said yes. So I don't know why there was like disagreements on this. But then she goes off of like, no, you know who I would say? The filthy people who try to sell their own shit. Like the fucking people who make like the characters busty when they're not supposed to. And the people who make dirty fucking doujins and like rapey mangakas. And I was just like, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. That was so funny to me. Just seeing her go on and on about it. I was just like, that's funny. That's really, really fucking funny. But we get that whole perspective. But yes, the director does come out in a Princess Saya cosplay. And Maya actually sees that the director like actually put in work in it and like actually did stuff. And it's like, Jesus, your buttons are all sewn and you have like messed up fabric, and it's like, it's just like the mistakes I've made. You spent a lot of time on this, aren't you? Yep. How would you feel if they told you that you couldn't use it? I'd be pretty fucking upset. I just want you to understand why I was mad, man. Like, and I do like that. I do like that how there is a middling ground of acceptance of it being like listen, you understand how I feel. I just need you to understand that as you go on in the industry and understand that, like, this shit sucks for us. You have shit that sucks for you, but we have shit that sucks for us. Which I think is actually really good. Ruby somehow pulled off a PR save of the fucking ages. And honestly, good fucking work for her. Her little manipulative ass is starting to pay off. A little too much. Because you know who also has been noticing Ruby's talents recently? You know who is starting to slowly confront Ruby on her little bit of her manipulation tactics? Aqua. You know what this episode ended on? And on who Ruby was talking to and getting confronted by a little bit? And it seems like from here, at least the word, it's like, oh, no, that's too calculated. Something's up with my sister. Which also makes me think, though, he might be turning as well, potentially. Because, and I'm mostly basing this off the ending, at the very, very end, you see both of their eyes, and both of their eyes have the dark stars. And to me, I was like, oh, no. Ruby is going to sink again. And not Ruby, Aqua is going to sink again and fall into despair, and that's gonna hurt his relationship with Akane, and maybe even strain some shit with, I have no fucking clue, man. But that is gonna be an interesting interaction down the road. I like to see how they fully confront each other, because now it feels like we're gonna be butting heads a little bit, which I like a lot, and I can't wait to see who prevails in that. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Daily Anime Reviews. Let me know if you liked the episode or if you hate the episode and how you think about the season in the comments below. And if you want more of this Daily Anime Reviews, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel and put notifications on, as you'll get a notification every single day, because we upload anime every single day. So make sure that's on so you get notified when we upload every single day. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.